going to discuss about the strategy for GS paper 2. In GS paper 2, polity is a very significant part. So we will talk from the mains perspective as well as from the prelims perspective. Mains, we'll be talking from the mains perspective as well as from the prelims perspective. So when I talk about GS paper 2, that doesn't mean that I'll be excluding, the prelim section, because GS paper 2 is mainly for your mains, right? So whatever the portion is there common in prelims, that also we will talk, and also we'll talk about GS paper 2. I mean, that is the mains aspect. So comprehensively we'll try to cover both polity from the aspect of mains as well as from the aspect of your prelims. Not only polity but also including the IR and all, whatever there in GS paper 2. So let's see. So you see GS paper 2, because the detailed syllabus is provided in GS paper 2. When you look into the polity syllabus or prelim syllabus of polity section, which is very brief, the student may not be able to understand exactly what they are expected from that syllabus. But of course, by looking at the PYQ previous year questions paper, they will come to know. And GS paper 2 for mains, they have discussed in a more detailed manner in the syllabus that what are they, what the UPSC is expecting out of you for GS paper 2, which is also, that is common for the prelims. So that is how we will discuss about the GS paper 2. So we'll look into the various terms. What are the terms in GS paper 2, that is polity, constitution and governance. We'll try to understand the term. We'll see the what is the importance of polity and IR or GS paper 2 in the prelim sections. Then we'll also look into the important aspect of prelims and mains. What are the important topics? We'll look into the source from where you need to study. So this session is mainly for the freshers who are starting for the first time and they want to understand that what they have to study for GS paper 2. Presuming that you have some idea about the UPSC, you already know about the UPSC, you know that there are 4 general studies paper in mains and what are the syllabus in prelims. We assume that you would be knowing those, or we'll also be take up one separate session on the entire general orientation about the UPSC, in which we will be talking about the prelims and mains interview, everything. We'll have a general orientation of the UPSC. But today's session is more restricted towards GS paper 2, what we need to do for GS paper 2 from the prelims perspective and from the mains perspective. So GS paper 2, which consists of your polity, constitution, governance, IR and social justice. So these are not only in your prelims sections, but the questions from this section, I mean, of course, the polity, the questions come, people feel that in prelims only the question comes from polity, but yes, the question from IR also being asked in your prelims, right? The question from governance, of course, not in detail, but some questions like that asked about, what is the work of a bureaucracy. In prelims, they had already asked such questions. So many people, they feel that governance is only there in your mains. But some questions on governance can also, the conceptual part can also come in your prelims. That is why we recommend to the aspirants that you prepare in a holistic manner, in an integrated manner, both prelims and mains. Don't do it in a separate manner, because many topic which you may feel that only it comes in mains, but even the questions inspired from that topic would be coming in your prelims. Like I gave you the example, they have already asked on the question of bureaucracy. Bureaucracy, that what is the role of a bureaucracy in polity? So basically it is the implementation of policy. The role or the work of the bureaucracy is to implement the policy formulated by the government. So that is what, if you know the concept, then you will be able to solve such kind of questions. So don't segregate prelims and mains. Prepare simultaneously in a manner, and there are a lot of overlapping and a lot of common areas from where the question is being asked. Yes, the question is being asked on the social justice. The social justice basically deals with the government policies for the weaker section of the society. So even government schemes and all, the question has been asked, so that you can consider the questions from the social justice section. Now coming to the topic of prelims, we'll discuss the prelims first. So in prelims, you look at the weightage of the questions we have, here on the screen you can see the weightage of the questions given for polity section. It's a quite very important, in fact, very important subjects in your prelims. The major important subject in your prelims, the major important subject in your prelims is your polity, history, geography, economy, plus geography, plus environment, you can say. Environment is also a very important topic. So these are the major important topic, and in this you can see that polity is the one very significant topic. Almost out of 100 questions, every year, some 15 to 20 questions being asked from the polity section. So alone, say 15 to 20% of the general studies questions in prelims come from the polity section. And the good thing is that in comparison to the other subject like history, geography and economy, we have seen that the strike rate of polity is very high. When I say strike rate, means more number of questions are solvable in polity in comparison to the other section. Polity question can be done in a more easy manner. Aspirants have been able to solve the polity questions in a much more convenient manner in comparison to the other subjects. So somebody who have a good hold of polity, definitely they may have better marks in the prelims, which will help them in clearing or qualifying their prelims, because 15 to 20 questions, and in that the strike rate can be 90%, as high as 90%, and it can be even 100%, 90 to 100% the strike rate for Indian polity. Polity sections in your prelims, you can, with a very good hold over the subject, you can really do well, and you can mark all the 100% of the question of Indian polity. That is why if you emphasize on polity, your chances of clearing prelims becomes much more viable. Of course, it's not like you will be able to clear only on the basis of polity, but of course, you have to concentrate on all the area. Why I said polity? Because the strike rate is very high. The propensity of making the question correct is much more high in polity in comparison to the other subject. So you must, it's a low hanging fruit, you can say. It's a low hanging fruits which you can easily pluck. Without much effort, you can easily pluck. So more, straightforward questions are coming in polity. At least if there are 20 questions, at least 16 to 17 questions, they are very straightforward, and if you have a very good knowledge and good conceptual clarity, aram se you can solve those questions very easily. So having talked about the importance of polity in your prelims, look at the year-wise question. Like in 2024, around 18 questions were being asked. In 2023, it was 15, 22, it was a bit less. But if you, also include polity plus IR plus social justice and governance in the polity, it will be even more. It will be even more. It will be around 25 to 30 questions. If you include polity, IR, social justice and governance related, governance, there are very few questions being asked, but sometimes they do ask. So around 25 to 30 questions or even more, 25 to 35 questions straight away in your pocket, if you are having the good hold over this entire subjects. So I hope till here I have made very clear, I have talked about the significance of polity in prelims. From the prelims point of view, we are talking now, and then we'll go to the mains point of view. And we'll look into the sources. What are the topics which are important, how you should study, what are the sources to be studied. We will be doing simultaneously for the prelims and mains at the later part of the session. So now let's understand the mains aspect. We'll talk about the mains aspect in your mains GS paper 2. What are the topics which are being covered or has to be covered? So you can see at the top that GS paper 2 consists of governance, constitution, polity, social justice and international relations. So now let's understand the term of each word, because that's very important that you understand the term of each word, because many a time, when you start, you don't know how to start an answer, you can start with the definition of the term. So if you know the meaning and definition of the term, it's become very handy for you to start answers. And also you'll have more and more clarity about that. What is social justice? What is governance? If anybody asks you, you are able to, you are in a position to define it. So let's see what the various terms here mentioned. Governance, polity, constitution, social justice, governance, and IR, international relation. So what do you mean by the word governance? So governance, it is the manner in which the power is being exercised. It is the manner in which power is being exercised. Power is being exercised for the social and economic development of the country. Right? So if the power is exercised in a good manner, it will lead to good governance, right? Less of corruption, better governance, good laws, good implementation of the policies, right? And if good governance means, who are the beneficiary? Who will benefit? It is the citizens of the country or the people of the country, right? They will benefit. Their life will become better. So if the governance is good, so what is governance? Basically, manner in which the power is exercised to utilize the social and economic resources of the country for the development. You can write you can write down all these points so that it can be easy for you for the further revision. You'll understand the terms. So governance is, it is the manner in which the power is exercised for the utilization of social and economic resources of the country for development. For development, the way the government utilizes the resources, economic and social resources for the development, and the manner in which the power is exercised. If it is exercised in a good manner, it leads to good governance. If it exercised in a bad manner, it leads to bad governance. What are the example of bad governance? High corruption, nepotism, favoritism, right? Chronic capitalism. Many of the word you might not be knowing, which you can Google it and search the meaning. So that's what leads to, kind of a bad governance. I hope you understand corruption. So very high rate of corruptions. So the people's life will get miserable in bad governance, right? So all that what we want is good governance. Then what is the term polity? What do you understand by the term polity? Polity is the system of government. System of government. The nature of polity. Nature of polity. The nature of polity or the system of government. So in India, you know that we have a parliamentary form of government, isn't it? So under the polity section, that's what you will be studying. What is the nature of Indian political system? We have a parliamentary form of government. We have a federal form of government. We are three-tier system of government, central, that is union, state, and local self-government, right? So those things, political party system, all this will be studying under the polity section. Then constitution. What is constitution? What is constitution? See, the meaning of the term is extremely important. As I told you that these, you should understand the meaning of the term. That's very, very essential. That's the reason I am defining these terms. So what is a constitution? It is basically a rule book, right? It is a rule book, but which is in fundamental rule book, fundamental or the basic rule book, which defines the power of the government, which defines the power of the government, which defines the power of the government, which also talks about what are the goals and aspirations of the people, goals and aspiration of the people. I'm not going into detail as of now, just a brief idea. I'm providing you a brief idea about the constitution because the main purpose is here to get an overview of how to prepare GS paper 2 and basically what is GS paper 2. So it is fundamental basic rules which defines the power of the government, the nature of the government. It also talks about what is the nature of the government. So you know that we have a parliamentary form of government, and it also defines the power of the government. It puts a kind of certain limitations on the power of the government. Limitation, because we have fundamental right? So the constitution makes the government limited in nature, means they don't have unlimited power. They cannot behave in an authoritarian manner. There is certain restrictions to the power of the government, and also defines that who will exercise what power. Like we know that all the executive action is being taken in the name of the president, and from where do we come to know? We come to know this from the constitution, right? That it is the president who is the, who is at the top of the political system. Who is at the, though it looks like the prime minister is the top of the political system, but when we say nation, not the political system, nation, who heads the nation? It is the president, right? It is all the executive actions, all the policies are being implemented in the name of the president. And from where do we come to know? We come to know it from the constitution, article 53, right? And then we know that it is not the president, the way they want to do, they can implement the laws or they can make the policy. It is with the consultation or advice of Council of Minister headed by Prime Minister. So this also, from where do we come to know? We come to know from the constitution, right? That all the executive action taken in the name of the president, and but the president, while taking any decision, has to take into consideration the advice of Council of Ministers headed by Prime Minister. The president can't do the things on its own, right? So all this information we come to know from the constitution, right? It also defines the faith and aspirations of the people, what the people want as a society. So we want a democratic society, we want a secular society, we want a republican society, isn't it? A socialist society. So that is what the goals and aspirations of the people. We want justice, we want liberty, right? We want justice, we want liberty, we want freedom, we want to maintain unity and integrity of the nation. So all these ideas and informations we come to know through the constitution. So that is what the significance of the constitution. And major part of your prelims, the questions will be coming in polity. Major parts of the prelims in polity, the questions will be coming from the constitution section. Major questions will be coming, 80 to 90% of the questions will be coming from the constitution section. So from the prelims point of view, that's very, very important that you should have a very good idea about the polity and constitution section, as well as in your mains also, major section also, in the mains also, the major section and major questions come from this area, polity and constitutions, right? So we have seen like what are the area of your mains. So governance, polity, constitution. So this section, you know, that's very, very important. So this section is very important from your prelims as well as mains. Good number of questions been asked from this section. That's so we have to give more and more focus. Of course, by looking at the PYQ and the scheme of distribution of marks, how the marks are being distributed among the various section, you will come to know. So I hope till here you got the clarity. I am talking about the various terms which is being mentioned in GS paper 2. We have done with the governance, polity and constitution. So let's understand what is social justice. Then we have done already governance, international relation. Social justice. What do you mean by the word social justice? What do you mean by the word social justice? Social justice is basically resorting to non-discriminatory practices. Non-discriminatory practices. Like in India, you know, there is a caste system and all, which is highly discriminatory. Particularly people from the lower caste, they face a lot of discrimination, and also poorer and weaker section of the society like women, children, elderly, people with disability, all these people, scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, so all these people, they face a lot of discrimination. So that's the reason they have been put at a very disadvantaged position, right? Because of lot of discrimination taking place against these communities. So social justice is basically to provide equal treatment or non-discriminatory treatment to this section of the society, weaker section of the society, right? No, so that's the reason Article 17, abolition of untouchability has been done. And because of these kind of disadvantage, and because of so many discriminatory practices against this section of the society, this has resulted in the backwardness. They remained quite backward because of all this discrimination. So now if we have to make them at the equal par with the society, what we have to do? We have to come up with certain policies. Which should uplift them, which should help in uplifting them. So we have a lot of policies for the women. That's part of your affirmative action. Or in a very simple term, you also understand the reservation policy. Reservation policy is a part of the social justice. The various policies and programs made by the government to bring social justice to these weaker section of the society. So one is your, the reservations policy, and also a lot of government schemes for women, maternity benefit act, or the old age pension scheme. All these are part of your social justice program. Food Security Act for the poorer section of society. All these government schemes and all that comes in your social justice section. That's important for your prelims and also in your mains. In fact, in 2024 prelims, lot of question has been asked, around 3 to 4 question has been asked from government schemes, So social justice become again, very important for the prelims and mains. Of course, the how to study, the way will differ for prelims and mains. For prelims, you have to be very much particular about what the informations you have to keep in your mind, so that you can able to identify when it is given before you in the multiple choice question, that okay, fine, these are the statement 1, 2, 3, 4. You are able to identify. So in that way, you have to study. You have to you may have to by heart those points, some facts also, which could be the part of your prelims question. So for that, again, by looking at the previous year paper, you will certainly understand. What is IR? International relation. So that's the last part of your GS paper 2, IR. So IR is international relation is basically, the way a country share, the way the country or nation shares its relationship with outside world, The way our nation or the country shares its relationship, that defines its relationship with the outside world, like India-US relationship, India-US relationship, India-China relationship. So not only the relationship between the various countries, but also in the IR you will be studying about the various United Nations organization, like global groupings, WTO and all, then regional groupings, regional groupings like ASEAN, Association of Southeast Asian Nation, ASEAN, BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. So all those kind of regional groupings, global groupings, United Nations, all you will be studying. Also about the Indian diaspora. Indian diaspora means those people of Indian origin who are residing in other countries, like people of Indian origin, like Miss Kamala Harris. You must be knowing about Miss Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris. She is the Vice President of US and also this time a candidate for presidential election. Right. So she is of Indian origin. So such kind of people, what is their contribution for the benefit of India and how India relates with them, how India saves the relationship with the Indian diaspora. All this you will be studying under international relation, right? So I hope till here we made it very clear that what are the topic you will be studying under all this section, and also we had defined the terms which are mentioned in GS paper 2. Right, so coming back to the topic, we have defined each of the term, we have seen that what numbers of questions being asked or what is the weightage of polity in prelims. This is what the syllabus, I have briefly just discussed about the syllabus in the way I have defined all the terms: constitution, governance, polity, social justice and IR. So in the polity and constitution, what you will be expecting or what are the topics which you have to study? The Indian Constitution, historical underpinnings, how the Indian Constitution has evolved, the making of the Indian Constitution, then what are the important features of Indian Constitution like federalism, parliamentary form of government, fundamental rights, DPSP, then comparison of the Indian Constitution, comparison of the Indian constitutions with that of the other constitutions. That's what you know, you'll be studying under the Indian polity and constitution. So whatever the topic mentioned here, it is of the Indian polity and constitution, all these topics. Then parliament, state legislature, union executive and the high courts and all you will be, I mean judiciary, that's not union judiciary and the state judiciary. Judiciary, it's an integrated form, so judiciary you will be studying structure and organization and functioning of the executive organization, various ministries and departments, salient features of representation of people acts, so as you move in the class, as of now, you may be, you know, you may be finding it, okay, what are these topics and all, but as you, you know, start preparing topic by topic, So as you start preparing topic by topic, you will get more and more clarity, and also we'll talk about the sources from where you have to study all these stuff, all these things. So this is what you have to study, various statutory bodies, regulatory body, quasi-judicial body. So at this point of time, you may be finding it bit difficult to understand that what are all these I am talking about. But once you start preparing and start from the scratch with the basics, you will be able to understand all these topics. So don't worry at all. At this point of time, it may look like an uphill task, but it is not like that. Most of the things you have already studied in your school days till class 10th, and somebody from the arts background or humanities background, they would have, even more in details they would have studied. But even people from commerce and science background, easily they can grasp all these things because they have already studied the fundamentals till class 10th. So once they revise their school books and start building the concepts, it will become very, very easy. In the social justice, basically, we'll be talking about, or we'll be studying about the various welfare programs, the various welfare programs for the vulnerable section of the society, welfare schemes for the vulnerable section of the society, government policies and intervention for the development in various sectors. What are the government, schemes and policies for the various sectors the government is making? That also will be studying under this. Various like the role of NGOs, self-help groups, donor charities, institutions. Those things also will be studying under the social justice. Welfare schemes for the vulnerable section, particularly those schemes, targeted scheme for uplifting the vulnerable section of the society, just like I have talked about the Food Security Act, then you have Maternity Benefit Act, you have old age pension scheme, you have schemes for the person with disability, you have schemes for the adolescent girls, you have schemes for the children's like ICDS, integrated child development schemes, midday meal schemes, right to education, all these are basically meant for the upliftment of vulnerable section of society. So all these schemes you will have to study. These are, again, as I told you, it's very useful for your prelims and also for your mains. These are all topics. These are the common topics you have to study for both prelims and mains. Issues relating to poverty and hunger, all this you will be studying under the social justice. I hope till here you got the clarity. And if you have any doubt, you can put it in the chat box. We'll resolve it. Governance. So just now I discussed about what is governance. So in this you will be talking about important aspect of governance, what is transparency, accountability, because all these concepts are very, very important to understand what is governance. A governance system which is based on transparency, where things are very open, people have access to information, and where there is a system of accountability, where the authority, they are accountable, they are answerable to the people. Such kind of system leads to good governance, isn't it? So all those topics you will be studying under the governance. Then e-governance, because e-governance is also important tool to improve governance. E-governance is also an important tool, important mechanism to improve governance, to make the governance more efficient, more transparent, more accountable. So all this you will be studying about the e-governance, application models, success, limitations. Then citizens charter, again this is also one way of bringing the system or authority to make them more accountable, and also to provide good quality services to the people. So we'll study citizens charter, because ultimately, you know, the entire system of polity, entire system of polity is meant to serve the people. It is meant to serve the people, to improve the life of the people, to improve the life of people, to bring quality changes, right? Or to make the life of the people more qualitative, so that they can really enjoy their life, so they can lead a very good quality life, isn't it? So why do we talk about, like, you know, jobless growth and all? Why the issue is because the growth is happening, but you know, enough job is not being created, and which results in lack of growth. So if there is lack of growth, people are unemployed, right? If they are unemployed, can they lead a good life? Can they lead a good life? No. So enough job has to be created so that everyone has the good job, not only job but good quality job. So all these are all that depends upon a system of governance. If the governance is good, transparent, accountable, with least corruption, which function in a more democratic manner, that improves the quality of the life of people. The role of civil service in democracy, that again, because all of you are aspiring to become a civil servant, so you must understand what is your role, what's your role going to be in a democracy. India being a democratic, what would be your role? That's what you will be studying under governance. International relation, again we have discussed that what are the topic which will be covered, that India and its neighborhood relation, bilateral and regional agreements, groupings, like I just talked about, like you have the global groupings and all, like United Nations, WTO, World Bank, all these will come. Then regional groupings, you have regional grouping like ASEAN. And mind it, all these things are very important for your prelims also. Though I'm here talking about the syllabus of mains, but all these things are important for your prelims. So this is basically common to both your prelims and mains. When you look at the question, you will understand why I was talking so. Then effects of policies, politics of development of developing countries and all. These part may be more important for your mains, but this regional groupings, global groupings, you'll have to study for the prelims as well. Then important international institutions and agencies, structure and mandate. International, again in this United Nations will come, IMF, WTO, all this will come under this international, important international institutions. ILO, International Labor Organization, all this thing will come under this. Effects and policies, and then here about Indian diaspora. So already I have talked about that. You'll have to study, particularly for your mains, what is the contribution of Indian diaspora in the development of India, or how they can contribute towards the development of India, how India can build a good relation with the Indian diaspora. All this topic of the mains you will be studying under Indian diaspora. So I hope I have discussed in a quite detailed manner the syllabus of your GS paper 2, and by this time you have got at least some clarity that what is GS paper 2, what is there in GS paper 2, and that will help you in molding your preparation. So now let's see important topics for the prelims. So we have discussed the entire GS paper 2 syllabus. So the entire GS paper 2, that's very, very important. I've already told that polity and constitution section, the more number of questions are coming, but then it's not like you will be overlooking other section. You have to study for governance, you have to study for social justice, and you have to study for IR. All the section you have to study. Of course, the importance can be given on the basis of weightage, but that does not mean that you are leaving any section. No. You can't leave any section of the topic because you don't know from where the questions will be coming. So you have to complete the syllabus in a comprehensive manner. Of course, the importance little bit more or less can be given on the basis of the weightage of the question. And by looking at the PYQ, you will also understand the nature of the question. So these are the topics from where the good number of questions being asked in your prelims, like Indian Constitution, its evolution. Question has been asked from the parts of the Constitution. They had asked the questions from the evolution, they had asked from the parts of the Constitution, important articles sometimes being asked, like Article 21, what it deals with, or they'll give you the match the following. They'll give you some articles and then match it with the provisions of the Constitution, like Article 21 deals with right to life and personal liberty. Similar way, Article 14 that deals with right to equality. So they may ask you in the match the following also. So important articles, they are also very important. Then again, a good number of questions being asked from preamble and fundamental rights, DPSP and duties. So sometimes they ask from citizenship, but more important is your preamble, fundamental rights, fundamental duties and DPSP. A good number of questions being asked almost every year from these section, or at least one or two questions they'll be asked from these section almost every year. So these are very important from the point of view of your prelims and also from the point of view of mains. Then questions on executive, president, prime minister, council of minister, legislature like parliament, state legislature, judiciary, Supreme Court, High Court, lower judiciary, district court and all. Electoral process and reforms. What is the system? 2024 was a year of election. This year the election was being conducted. General election was being conducted. So in fact, in mains they had asked the question. So one must be very, very abreast of the current affairs. And again, these are the important part in your prelims as well. The electoral process and the reforms. Federalism, how India is a federal form of government where the power is being divided between center and state. Power is being divided by center and state. Parliament, cabinet committees, constitutional bodies like UPSC, Finance Commission, CAG, Comptroller and Auditor General, all these things. UPSC, State Public Service Commission, Joint Public Service Commission, Finance Commission, CAG, all these are your constitutional body because they are mentioned in Constitution. Non-constitutional bodies, those created by an act of parliament or by the executive. For example, Niti Aayog. This is a non-constitutional body created by the executive. Statutory bodies like UGC, University Grant Commission. This is a statutory body created by an act of parliament, right? GST Council, it's a statutory body created by an act of parliament. Niti Aayog, it is a non-statutory body and non-constitutional body because it is created by an act of executive. It is not created by an act of parliament. So all this you will get more and more clarity, once you start preparing. Center-state relations, interstate cooperation, local self-government, emergency provisions. Like many of you would be knowing that we have three types of emergency. National emergency, then you have the president rule, or also called a state emergency, then you have the financial emergency, schedules, almost, the good number of questions been asked from schedules. That's also very important. So we have 12 schedules. 12 schedules. Questions are coming from that. Amendments. Questions are also coming from amendments. The important amendments you must understand. Anti-defection law that deals with the defection and all. Your 10th schedule. Indian Penal Code. Sometimes they ask the question from the Indian Penal Code also, but that's a rare. But sometimes they do ask. Various international organization and summits, like BRICS summit just happened, concluded, the BRICS summit. So they can ask the question from that. They can ask from the important outcome of the BRICS summit, or they can ask you from the groupings who are the members of the BRICS in prelims. And in mains, of course, you have to know that what was the basically the summit was called for, what was the outcome of the summit. All this idea you should know about the mains. So again, by all this discussion, I hope you understood that there are a lot of overlapping between prelims and mains. Just for prelims, you will have to adopt a little bit different strategy, that you will have to be mindful about some facts, data, little bit more in comparison to the mains. Like in mains, if you forget some facts or data, 1 or 2 facts and data, if you forget that doesn't make much difference. Doesn't make much difference if you forget some data, or if you are not able to remember. Still, I mean, for that, conceptual clarity is very, very important for your mains. Of course, for the prelims, conceptual clarity is required, but at the same time, some data may also be required, like when it was formed, who is the, suppose for example, if I take the example of BRICS. So when it was formed, who are the members, or if some new members were being included, who are the new members included in that. So such type of, what is the outcome of the recent summit, what was the main discussion. So such kind of maybe the factual information you may have to remember for the prelims. That is how the little bit of different strategy between prelims and mains. So yes, I hope till here you understood well that what are the important topics in your prelims, also overlaps with the mains. So like what to focus in the topic, like when you study, for example, preamble, when you are studying the preamble, because preamble is an important topic, fundamental rights, DPSP, fundamental duties, schedules, these are very important topic in your prelims. As well as main. So from the prelims point of view, like what you have to focus. So you have to understand the idea of like justice, so you have to understand the idea of like what is the idea of justice, and you may have to literally understand what is preamble. What are the keywords? What are the keywords in the mention in the preamble, like India is a democratic, socialist, secular, sovereign. India is a sovereign, democratic, social, secular and republic country. Right? So each term you should know, you should remember, because the question has been asked in the prelims. So you should know what are the original, like originally the Indian Constitution was sovereign, democratic, republic. Later on, socialist and secular was added. Secular word and socialist word was added later on, right, by 42nd Amendment Act. 42nd Amendment Act, 1976. So all these information you should know from the prelims point of view. Justice, liberty, fraternity, all the terms which is mentioned, when the preamble was adopted, date 26th November, it was adopted on 26th November 1949, came into force. When it came into force? It came into force 26th January 1950. So all this information you must understand from the prelims point of view. Similarly, like fundamental rights, you have to focus on the different rights. You have to focus on different rights. What are the reasonable restrictions? Various Supreme Court judgment or laws on that. The relevant laws and relevant judgment you have to understand and remember. DPSP, what is the objective of DPSP, how it is different from fundamental right and fundamental duty. In that way you have to remember the DPSP. What is the role of DPSP in governance? What is the classification of the DPSP? The various articles, all the articles of the DPSP you must remember, because they had asked the questions in the prelims, the articles, like for example, Article 40. Article 40 deals with what? It deals with the organization of panchayat, isn't it? Organization of panchayats. Article 40, local self-government. Isn't it? Similar fundamental duties. So fundamental duty, when it was brought, what is the significance? How many fundamental duties are there? Like total, earlier it was 10, originally it was 10, but now we have one more plus. Total 11 fundamental duty was, it's there. When this was added, when this fundamental duty was added, through which amendment it was added, the last fundamental duty. All this information you must understand. So this is how you have to study, and all these information, how will you come to know? PYQ, previous year questions paper. So if you have solved the PYQ of the prelims and also in the mains, PYQ is the most important source, I would say, to streamline your preparation. If you have to give, a good direction to your preparation, it's the PYQ, previous year questions paper. That will help you. You'll come to know exactly what type of question being asked. Then you will come to know, okay, this type of information I should focus, this type of knowledge or information has never been asked, and so such kind of information, such kind of very crude form of data I should not remember, because they have never been asked, probably they will never ask also, right? And one important thing, all of us, we should remember that, we have to concentrate on the doables. We have to concentrate on the doables. We have to concentrate on the doables. Something which is, doables. Something which is not doable, which is difficult. Again, by looking at the PYQ, you'll come to know, okay, how many questions in prelims I am supposed to do to clear my prelims. In mains, of course, if there are, if 20 questions are there, you should be able to finish all the 20 questions. And if you are prepared well, all the 20 questions you will be knowing. All the 20 questions you will be knowing. It's just a matter of some question you will be knowing very, very well. Some may be average and some you may have little bit passing kind of information. But you will be knowing all. You will be knowing almost all the questions. So your aim should be is to complete the entire paper. And prelims, there are 100 questions. In those 100 questions, how many questions I should mark to clear the prelims? Again, by looking at the PYQ and the cutoff of those particular year, you can streamline your preparation. Okay, like last year, in 2023, when the paper was really difficult, people found it very, very difficult. The cutoff was 75. So automatically, in general studies, in prelims, if the questions are tough, automatically the cutoff will also come down. So we need not worry. We have to concentrate on the doable works. By solving the previous year paper, if you feel that yes, I am able to clear the cutoff of that particular year, that is more than enough. Then you should have the confidence that I will clear my prelim. So that is how the strategy has to be formed. Concentrate on the doables. Don't go into unnecessary details. Many a time the student adopt the wrong strategy without looking at the previous year paper. They keep on mugging up the things. Which is not at all helpful to them. So you should have a proper strategy. And also, like, there are section, as I told you, there are polity, history, geography, economy, environment, science and technology, plus current affairs from all the section. Except, of course, generally there are least number of current affairs, if at all, from history. But even the current affairs, like if new excavation sites are being found, even that become part of current affairs in history. But otherwise, it's the least dynamic. But other, like economics is again very, very dynamic. Sometimes dynamic polity questions can be asked. So you have to decide, what are the area where you are very strong. And as I said, why polity remains outstanding, because this is the one area where if your concepts are built, and so you will be able to solve almost, if the 20 questions are asking, there is a propensity at least 18 to 19 question you will mark it correct, and sometime even all the 20 question you will mark it correct, which is bit difficult for other section like history, geography, economy. I'm not saying somebody who is very good at history, very good at geography or economy, even they'll find it difficult, but generally it has been observed that polity questions, the strike rate is quite high, and that's the reason that's being given more importance. So concentrate on the doables. Sources, now we have to look into the sources from where we need to prepare. So this is what, like NCERT, they are the basics books, again for your prelims and mains. That's, I'm talking in a simultaneous manner. So NCERT books, very, very important. It will lay down the solid foundation. 6th to 12th. So 6th to 10th, you can read, particularly if I say 6 to, for polity, 6 to 8, at least one reading you should give. 9 to 10th, or 9th and 10th, you can study maybe 2-3 times. Then 11th and 12th become more important. Good number of questions, particularly in 11th, if I have to say, which is the most important book, it's like Indian Constitution at Work. Indian Constitution at Work. This book, 11th class NCERT, this is the most important for your prelims and also for your mains. But you must study this 6 to 8, as I said, at least one reading, some basic reading. You have already you have done in your school days till class 10th. So just a basic reading. 9 to 10th, maybe 2-3 times you can study because some more important topics are there. 11th and 12th, you have to study more. And in the class, we will be guiding you in a more detailed manner in 11th and 12th also, which book you have to study and why you have to study. All these things will be provided in much more detail. So this is the one book which is more important in comparison to all the books, from where the maximum questions will be coming for your prelims, as well as good knowledge of this will help in mains as well. But you have to study all the books. You can give more focus to this book. So this is where, this is what we have to understand, where we have to give more focus, from where the maximum question are coming, or by studying which book I can solve maximum number of questions. That's what the point should be. It's not like, solving all the questions in prelims. From where, what source I should study, where I can solve the maximum number of questions, which has been laying down good conceptual clarity. Lakshmikant's Indian Polity, that's very, very important for your prelims, particularly. They are very important, of course, for the mains also, but particularly for prelims, they're very important, and it's a good source. It has compiled really well, almost comprehensively, but don't overlook NCERT. NCERT are very important from the mains point of view to develop a good conceptual clarity, good understanding of the topic. That helps in, writing good answers. NCERT books, if you study really well. So don't overlook the NCERT book as well. But do study Lakshmikant. That's a very good source for Indian polity. For governance, you can study Lakshmikant. You can study in a selective manner. Social justice, it's quite dynamic topic. So for that, various government schemes, policy for the weaker section of the society. You will have to make a good use of internet to study about the social justice and all. So to understand the various terms, like what is NGOs, what is the role of NGOs in providing or improving the quality of life of people, or providing services to the people, role of donor agency, charitable. So those things you can find it from internet and all. These are the dynamic topic. About the government schemes, if you study economy survey and India yearbook, particularly for that particular topic, government schemes, that's important for your prelims, that's important for your mains. That you can prepare from the economy survey or India yearbook. International relation, the questions are coming quite dynamic. The questions are quite dynamic here. But to have a good foundation, you can study at least once this book by Singh, to lay down the foundation, to understand basically, what is about the India-Russia relation or India-Pakistan relations, to understand the basic, how it has evolved basically. So this you can study, and mostly the questions come from current affairs, but we should know the basics. For understanding the basics, you can study this book, Pavneet Singh book for IR, but mostly the questions come from current affairs. So that you should be very, very mindful about. Then, as I mentioned, that PYQ, that's very, very important. Practice previous year paper. That's very, extremely important. Previous year paper. I've always emphasized the importance of previous year paper. I have been repeatedly talking about, and through the entire session, that PYQ, refer PYQ, that will give you the directions. So for both your prelims and mains, 10 years at least you should look into. For both prelims and mains, that's very, very important. That will give you a direction basically. Daily newspaper, again, that's very important, because paper 2 is very dynamic, as we have seen. Even in the polity, the questions will be coming which are very dynamic in nature. When I talk about the both, the prelims and mains. So particularly for mains, which is very dynamic, and also like to quote, examples, facts. You should be abreast with the current affairs, right? If you don't study newspaper regularly, you will not be abreast with the current affairs and not be able to support your answer. And many a time, some question in prelims or mains which is based on current affairs, if you are not studying, following the reading the newspaper regularly, you may not able to solve. And also why we should study newspaper regularly, I'll talk in a separate session. We'll have a separate session on why we should study newspaper and how to study newspaper. That's very important. Many a time the students, they lack clarity why and how to read newspaper. That will be taking up in a different session. Stay updated with the current affairs, and this you can also refer for PIB and PRS India, Press Information Bureau, that's provide the most authentic information. You can refer to those regularly to keep yourself updated. PRS India is basically for research on policies and bills of the government, policies and bills, acts of the government. So particularly for your mains, that's more important for your mains. PRS India. So I hope till here you got the clarity that you have to refer NCERT to lay down your foundation. Lakshmikant is a very good source for the Indian polity, for the prelims and of course for mains as well, I would say. Governance, Lakshmikant selectively you can study. Social justice, more from the internet information. International relations, Pavnit Singh you can study, and apart from that you must keep abreast with the current affairs. You have to practice PYQ to get understanding of the the topics, what is the nature of question basically. Stay updated with the current affairs, PIB and PRS India you can also refer to for enrichment. I would say it's more for enrichment, in your mains. And sometimes some questions which are of current based on some policies and acts. So if you have studied that, you'll be able to solve those questions. But this is what the order you can study. So don't bog down by this, that so much of material to study. Slowly and steadily you will pick up and start with the NCERT. First you start with the NCERT. Don't start with these advanced book. Otherwise you may get confused, you may get bogged down. So start with the NCERT too first. It's a very easy, nice school books, easy to understand with lot of examples, pictures. It helps in good conceptual clarity. So start studying from NCERT. So I hope you got quite a good knowledge and information, basically how to prepare for GS paper 2 from the prelims perspective and also from the mains perspective. When I say GS paper 2 for prelims, it is the polity constitution part, right? So these are some of the questions of prelims I have taken up so that you understand the nature of the question. So you see, 2024, this year only, they had asked that the Constitution 71st Amendment Act 1992 amended the 8th schedule. So look at the questions, like I did talk about that, the amendment is important amendment you should understand, schedule you should understand, 8th schedule, what is 8th schedule. So this is what you have to study for. So the 71st Amendment Act deals with select the correct answer using the code. So 71st Amendment Act, they brought Dogri, Maithili, Santhali, one more, just a minute. Okay, sorry, it's not Dogri Maithili, it was in 92nd Amendment Act. And 92nd Amendment Act was Dogri, Maithili, Santhali and Bodo. Bodo language. So 92nd Amendment Act 2003. 2003-4. They brought these 4 languages: Dogri, Maithili, Santhali and Bodo. 71st Amendment Act brought Konkani, Manipuri, Nepali, Konkani, Manipuri and Nepali language. So the 71st Amendment Act added Konkani, Manipuri, Nepali. So see, this is what, it's very factual in nature, but with the repeated revision, if you are revising it, you may get confused if you don't revise, but that's the reason, this kind of question, and this is a very easy question, but many students have marked this question as wrong because of lack of revision. So just before the examination, you have to revise some of the factual things. See, this is what you have to remember. These are the fact-based kind of thing. So why I chose this question? Because just to show you that, what are the nature of questions. Some may be conceptual, some may be factual. So this is something which is very factual. If you don't revise before the examination, you may get confused. So what is the option here? They had mentioned Maithili as well. So Maithili was added by 92nd Amendment Act, isn't it? Bodo, Dogri, Maithili, Santhali and Bodo, these were added by the 92nd Amendment Act, and 71st Amendment Act has added these 3 languages. So what is the answer? Konkani, Manipuri and Nepali. So A, right? A is your answer. Correct answer is A, right? 1, 2, 3. So if somebody get confused that whether Maithili was added during that time or by the 92nd Amendment Act, they may get confused and may make it wrong. This otherwise it's a very easy, very direct question, but because of lack of revision, people may choose wrong option. You have to revise the facts before the exam. Look at the second question. What was the exact constitutional status of India on 26 January 1950? So just now we have talked about, right? So a democratic republic, a sovereign democratic republic, C, sovereign secular democratic republic, D, sovereign socialist secular democratic republic. So we know that the word socialist and secular was added by 42nd Amendment Act, right? 42nd Amendment Act 1976. So what was the original part? If you subtract these two, what was the original part? Sovereign democratic republic. So these 3 words, right? So the answer is B. So again, this kind of information required repeated revision. Though they're very easy question, extremely easy, very direct question, but if you don't revise before the exam, you may mark it wrong. So be careful. Next question, which one of the following categories of fundamental rights incorporate protection against untouchability as a form of discrimination? Again, this is also something which is kind of factual, right? So here you see right against exploitation, right to freedom, right to constitutional remedies, right to equality. So our right to exploitation is article basically 23 and 24. So all this information, freedom, right to freedom, you'll have article 19 to article 22. Constitutional remedies, article 32. Right to equality, article 14 to 18. So you must be knowing about all this, right? If you don't know, or suppose you don't revise, you may again get it wrong. So basically it is under right to equality, because untouchability Article 70 deals with the abolition of untouchability, which is under article right to equality. Right to equality deals with article 14 to article 18. Right. So again, this kind of informations we should be very, very mindful. We should revise well so that we don't forget in the exam. See, they are asked the question on parts. So parts of the Indian Constitution also important. So power of the municipalities are given in parts 9A. Again, these are the factual question. Emergency provision in part 18. Provisions related to amendment in part 20. So altogether we have 25 parts. We have total 25 parts. Originally it was 22 parts. Now it is 25 parts. So under that, municipalities, yes, they are 9A. The statement is correct. It was included by 74th Amendment Act. Provision related to emergency, yes, again this is also correct. 18, this correct, this correct, and related to amendments, yes, 20. So all are correct. Factual, right? Questions very easy, but good revision is required before the exam. Otherwise, you may forget which part deals with what. You should remember all the 25 parts. Fine. So let's see some mains question also. So examine the need of electoral reforms as suggested by various committee with particular reference to one nation, one election. So this question in 2024 only they had asked. See, this was a year of election. So that is why I picked this question, just to show you that you should be mindful about the current affairs. And the questions are not straightforward. Like in prelims, the questions were quite straightforward. When you see the polity questions are generally straightforward. Sometimes they do ask analytical question. But mains, it is not quite forward. So you have to talk about, the need of electoral reforms, why the electoral reforms is required, and then we have to suggest the various committees, which committees, what electoral reforms they have suggested, and more detail, more concentration has to be paid on one nation and one election. Which committee? So recently this Ramnath Kovind committee recommended one nation, one election. And why it recommended? Just mention the reason, what is the benefit, and in brief you can talk about the repercussion as well. In brief, repercussion of, because it is just 150 words, 10 marks means just 150 words. So you have to discuss in a very brief manner. You can't go into detail. So all the points, but in a very brief manner, one line kind of point you have to mention. I hope things are clear here, till here. Just to show you the nature of question, I picked this question. Look at the another questions. This question is quite straightforward. The second question, you see the role of Vice President of India as the Chairman of Rajya Sabha. This is something which is very straightforward, I would say, very direct question. So you should know, and it's quite easy question also, very easy to attempt this question. So what is the role of basically the Vice President? Then don't write about the election of the Vice President, because they are not asking the election, they are asking the role. So read the question very, very carefully. What is the role of the Vice President? Here also you see need of electoral reforms they have mentioned. Doesn't mean that you have to talk about all the Goswami committee, Dinesh Goswami committee and other committees, Indrajit Gupta committee and all. You don't have to talk about. Just have to, maybe briefly you can mention in 1 or 2 lines that what these committees they have mentioned in just 2 to 3 lines, and then more concentrate on the one nation, one election. Major part of your answer, 90% of your answer, 90% or 80% of your answer should concentrate here. Because with particular, they have marking about the particular reference. Other you can mention in just maybe 10%, little bit you can mention, but more concentration here. So that is how understanding the question is very important, extremely important. The second is about the role. Don't start writing, how the vice president is being elected, because that is how you have studied about the vice president. The question is about the role. Stick to the role. That vice president as a chairman of the Rajya Sabha, because they had mentioned also as a chairman of the Rajya Sabha, what is their role. So he is the presiding officer. So he has to basically look into the conduct of the house of the Rajya Sabha, and all the proceedings of the Rajya Sabha within his control. He will give permission to the person to speak. He will accept the motion. Then only. So detail I will not go into. So that's what the whole point is here, to say that the Rajya, this is something which is very straightforward question, direct question. If you know the role of the vice president as a chairman of Rajya Sabha, you can very easily. And but only thing is that you have to read the question very carefully as the chairman of the Rajya Sabha, not as an acting president or all, because he also work as an acting president in terms of when the president is not in office, or because of due to his death, resignation, he can discharge the function of president. So we don't have to concentrate there, but as a chairman of the Rajya Sabha, what is his role and functions? That is what we have to concentrate here in this question. So I hope things are quite clear. At least you are after attending this session, you are in a much better placed in terms of understanding the idea about GS paper 2. How do you have to approach for the prelims? How do you have to approach for the mains? What are the important topics? We have also mentioned what are the sources you have to study for the prelims and for the mains, and basically how to approach both the prelims and mains point of view, the Indian polity and constitution, right? So with this, we would like to end the session, and we'll be also coming up with such more informative session to make you more enlighten you on the various aspect of the UPSC preparation. Till then, bye, take care, have a good day. Thank you.